Chapter 6. Santiago and I only had one skip to finish the following morning, while Mariah and Alison were ready to go into overdrive to make up for their limited activities yesterday. Max Zeller lived in the richest suburb in the nearby region, Orange. Like any city or county named Orange, the city was pompous and full of itself and filled with six-figure salaries like famous ambulance-chasing lawyers, plastic surgeons, celebrities, CEOs who made way too much money, and old money inheritors who don't have any skills that would net them six figures. From the look of Max Zeller's mugshot, I assumed he was a trust fund baby or a moocher. When we pulled up to the address listed in the file, I noticed immediately the house lacked the glamour of the neighborhood. The house was dingy, with windows that looked like they hadn't been cleaned since the house was built. The landscape looked like something out of the Wild West, and I was surprised the snooty neighbors hadn't called the city on the grass. "That house is the living expression of there goes the neighborhood," I muttered. "What's the story here?" "Laziness." Santiago's tone implied that it could only be laziness. We walked up to the door and knocked on it. The door looked like it was mere moments away from swinging off the hinges and disintegrating. Max Zeller opened the door wearing a stained white tank top and sweatpants that looked like they had collected buckets of sweat over the years. For a second, Max Zeller looked between us without an expression, but finally it clicked with him. Mac turned and ran. "Oh crap, it must be your outfit," I sighed, looking over at Santiago's leather as we ran into the house. The house was like a video game level, as Santiago and I had to jump over random clothes and trash on the floor while curving around awkwardly placed furniture. Santiago got the lead and tackled Max Zeller moments after he opened the back door. The two of them rolled down the small hill that was situated in the backyard of the estate. The lawn here was even more so out of control, looking like something out of a poetic Florence and the Machine song. Max Zeller managed to escape Santiago's clutches and began to run towards the garage. I assumed inside was either a nice car, which explained why there was no money to fix the house, or a car that was as broken and musty as the house. Max Zeller lifted a gun, and I gasped like I was a Puritan witnessing a jaywalker. "You guys are all the same. I have you cornered," Zeller smiled. I saw flashes of my boring life play through my brain. Was this the moment? Gunned down by the poorest man in the richest east side suburb of Cleveland, and all I had to show for my life was a dingy house and a roommate named Ramona with a bad dating life and friends who I had conveniently only made at work? While I reminisced like an old nun on her deathbed, Santiago appeared out of nowhere like a honey badger and stunned Zeller from behind. Zeller's gun went flying while I pepper sprayed our perp right in the face. Zeller yelled and struggled, flopping around like the world's saddest fish. "Thanks for the assist. I thought I was toast." "Save the toast for our next meal with Alison and Mariah," Santiago said crisply, his way of offering a joke. On our way to drop our last perp off, I got a call from Mariah. "Matty, you won't believe this. I got a note on my car now. It's the same one you got." "So now this maniac is after both of us?" "We need a new safety plan," Mariah explained. "We got some pizza. Hurry back to the office so we can powwow." We dropped Max Zeller off and got back just in time to have lukewarm pizza. "Alison is letting me have her spare bedroom," Mariah explained. "But she doesn't have room for you, Matty." "Well, I can't live alone. I could be murdered." "I want the murderer to come for me," Alison guffawed. "I'll show them exactly who's boss when I pull out some weapons and sneak attack them." "The murderer is way too good to be taken down by you," I said, a bit more bitterly, due to me having no housing for the upcoming night. "I have a spare room," Santiago jumped in. "You may stay at my house until we find the killer." "Okay." I cooled down for a second. Not only was Santiago good at this job, but he seemed to be a good person. How on all of Earth, Mars, and Mercury did we find him and successfully onboarded him? One problem down, but we have no leads on Elroy at all. "And we need leads," Alison chirped, "because I need the money that comes with capturing Elroy." I rolled my eyes again, as if Alison was the only one a few steps away from impoverishment in this room. "Who might know something?" Mariah looked through the Elroy file. What about Larry Elroy's mother? She might have some ideas of where we could find him." "She lives on Gerald Street." I pulled up the Maps app on my phone. "That's not very far, only an 8-minute drive from here." "Can we finish this pizza first?" Alison pleaded, and I turned to see that there were still 4 slices left. "You're right." I grabbed one of the remaining slices. "Let's finish this pizza." "Oh." Alison looked a bit miffed. "I was hoping to have the rest." After a quick few games of rock, paper, and scissors that took 10 minutes to solve, we decided to take Allison's Mercedes. Allison drove like a New York cabbie, and Santiago, who had won the competition, was sitting shotgun. That left Mariah and me in the back seats with empty, greasy buckets of fast food, some transparent lingerie, and empty Starbucks cups. "This is disgusting," I pointed to a bucket on the floor. "And look at that KFC bucket. There's not even any chicken bones left over. Did she eat the bones?" If Allison didn't eat the bones, then I bet a wild animal got in here and had a field day. "Did you capture any of your skips?" I asked Mariah. "No. We tried going after Mackenzie Giardino, but she went out the back door and drove off. In pursuit, Allison almost got us a speeding ticket." "Damn," I responded, as if I had vestment. "We got all 3 of ours." "Oh, get jimped," Mariah sultily threatened, turning to face the window. Larry Elroy's mother lived in a cute cottage on a side street. Based on the house alone, you wouldn't assume a murderer's mother lived there. The 4 of us walked to the door like an orgy of Jehovah's Witness. Mrs. Elroy appeared to have watched us come up and was waiting for us at the door. Her brown hair was turning gray, and she was wearing a conservative dress as if she was ready to teach Catholic Sunday school in the 1700s. She had makeup on, and her lipstick color was close to one of Allison's favorite lipstick shades, seductive cinnamon. I was willing to bet by her appearance that the lipstick was certainly not called anything remotely sexual. "Are we bothering you?" I asked. No, I don't have to leave for another hour." Miss Elroy smiled. I was pretty sure she was leaving in an hour to act out Little House on the Prairie. "Oh, what can I help you with?" "I'm Matty Iapen, and I'm a bond enforcer from Zlucky Bonds and Investigations. I'm looking for your son, Larry Elroy." Mrs. Elroy sighed and turned to the floor as if she had noticed a stain on her linoleum. "We believe he's innocent from those lists of crimes that he's been convicted for," I vaulted. "We think he's being framed." "I know he's innocent," Mrs. Elroy interrupted with a soft lament. "Larry was with me when the crime happened." "He was?" Mariah asked, genuinely shocked. "Of course he was. We went to a diner down the road and came back to my house. We had dinner at 5 and he left at 7:30. The crime happened at 6:30, but he was here playing cards with me and my friend." Mariah looked genuinely blown back. "Did you tell the police?" "I did. But the cop laughed and told me that a mother would defend her boy from the law. I even took my friend over to the cop, but he accused us of covering for Larry." "What did the officer look like?" I curiously asked. "I don't know. A young white man." "Any discerning features?" "No, he was just young and white, and a man." Mrs. Elroy was squinting, as if she was trying to see him in her small field of vision. It seemed like that line of questioning wasn't going to get me anywhere anytime soon. If we had to estimate the amount of young white men in the Northeast Ohio area, it would probably be 2 million. "But where is your son? If you don't know, then we can't help him," Mariah said with strong brass tones. "And if we can't help him, he's a definite goner," Allison chimed in. "Because this serial killer who framed your son is after us, and he's good." "So won't that make you goners too?" Miss Elroy asked. We eyed each other, as if someone was going to collectively answer for the group. Instead, a soft awkwardness drifted around us. "Maybe," I sighed. "But it looks like we're in too deep at this point, so if you know where your son is, please help us help him." Mrs. Elroy eyed us, and exhaled a sigh that seemed pent up for a long time. "He's staying in the building of a small business that my husband and I own," Mrs. Elroy softly informed us. "This shop has been empty for a while, but we haven't found anyone to buy the property. I know he's there because of the cameras. I got a notification the other day. I haven't spoken with Larry yet. I didn't want to scare him, and I know he didn't want to involve us." Mrs. Elroy gave us the address, which wasn't far away from her house. "Help him, please," Mrs. Elroy asked with trusting eyes. 5 minutes later, we were a few blocks away from the building that the Elroys owned. The store was a small brick 2-floor building, which looked pretty desolate next to a modern-looking shopping center. I could see why the Elroys' old store was sitting unused. This didn't seem like a great location for a store. There were no cars in the small parking lot either, although it was hustling and bustling next door. The front windows were covered in canvas, as if hiding things inside. After we parked the car, I came up with a strategy plan. "Let's hit it from the back door." "That's what I say all the time to guys I like," Allison nonchalantly said in the background. "Santiago, stay here and keep an eye. We might have a serial killer following us." "So if that's true, we brought them right to where Elroy is," Mariah softly muttered. Shit. We certainly were proving how amateur our operation is. Mariah, Alison, and I exited the car carefully, scanning the empty parking lot as if there were a ton of suspicious people around us instead of pure silence. I was the first to arrive at the back of the building, so I knocked on the back door. Elroy, it's Matty, the guy from the coffee shop. I introduced myself like the romantic lead in a cheap, overacted, straight-to-cable romance movie. It then crossed my mind that the serial killer who was after Elroy and us could be in this building. Right now, I might be calling out to a serial killer, or worse yet, walking into a trap created by them. We believe you're innocent, and we need to talk to you. The door opened swiftly, almost knocking Alison over completely. Elroy stood there, looking like a squirrel on cocaine. Can you not just open that door so violently? Alison barked. I almost landed ass first on my gun, and I cannot lose my ass. Get in. Elroy hurried us inside like he was corralling sheep. Mariah, Alison, and I poured into the back end of the building. It appeared Miss Elroy was right. This was where Larry was hiding out. We want to help you, but we need to know who framed you, Larry, I told him. You have to know who framed you, right? I do. Larry looked scared now, but still nervous. His eyes were squid large, and his fingers itched into his palm. But he threatened me, and my friends. That's how Jeffrey Quinns died. Quinns knew who the killer was, and he was planning on telling you. After you visited Quinns, he called me. I told Quinns to tell you guys, but, well, you know what happened to Quinns. The killer must have known Quinns was going to blabber, figured it would be better safe than sorry. But if you can testify and you have an alibi, then we should have something to give to the cops, Mariah suggested. But Elroy froze at the mention of cops. No, Elroy whispered. We can't go to the cops. You'll be fine, Alison snorted like Elroy was scared of visiting the library instead of the police station. My brother's a cop. We know some cops, trust me. I would have been arrested 7 times instead of 2 without my brother. No, you don't get it, Elroy snapped. The man who framed me, who killed my wife, her sister, and her friend, and Jeffrey Quinns, is a police officer.